started.
All right, we got a game. Let's see, I'm white, and let's try c4 here. The English opening. So, Joaco mate from Argentina. Okay, this is reverse Sicilian. c4 and e5. And my play for domination of the light squares here in the center with bishop g2 and knight to c3. He takes right away. Yeah, I see that a lot. I guess there's no way to stop that. But I guess, in a way, that's what white was playing for. He gives up his c-pawn for a d-pawn in the center. But black, on the other hand, gets a solid position. Okay, so I was thinking about the move e4 there, kicking the knight immediately. But I think e3, leaving open the possibility of d4. And playing my knight to e2. The problem with the e4 is it blocks the bishop and it leaves a backwards pawn on d2. And the problem with e3, of course, is it weakens these light squares here. But I have the bishop there to defend them, so I'm thinking that's probably okay. Now he can bring his bishop out to g4 and pin my knight. And it'll take me a couple steps to undo it. Yeah, there he goes. I've seen this style of play before. So I castle and then I move my queen to the side. Now this is interesting. So he took right away. And I don't think I want my queen there. I think I want my knight there. Okay, now can I play d4? That's a question. d4, e takes d4, e takes d4, bishop takes, knight takes. And the queen's still defending the knight, so even if this knight moves with tempo, it should be okay. And after that, pawn, 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 he could just retreat the bishop and leave me with an isolated pawn there. But that's okay, I think. It gives me just more control over the center. So maybe rook to e1, bishop somewhere. Where does the bishop might want to go? Actually, I don't have a good square for the bishop. Maybe I need to play b3 here so the bishop has some squares. That does let his knight come in here. So he has two attackers on the pawn and I have two defenders. So we're okay so far. So bishop b2, rook c1 maybe. And then I could start harassing that knight. Or I could think of bishop a3 hitting his rook, but that just drives the rook out to a good square, I think. Okay, so this knight can come into b4 or c5. Not a problem yet. This knight.
Server announcement.
Okay, what is black up to? He's got two open files. He should probably just be putting his rooks on his open files, maybe developing his queen somewhere active. Yeah. So my idea was to put my rook on an open file. I want to keep this square under control. The bishop is hitting f2 indirectly through that pawn, so I have to keep that in mind. Maybe queen d2 and knight to f4. Ah, he just harasses that. He harasses that poor rook. So at this point, yeah, I don't have anything better than retreating. A knight there, bishop there takes, he just takes it. And pawn there, he just takes it. No, actually, I should have thought. I'm sorry. I was thinking too quick. The knight goes there with a tempo on the queen. Might have been okay. Might have been okay. Okay, what do I want to do now? I want to move this knight out of the way. Let's see. Knight there is still not good. Knight to f4 was, I didn't like the look of that. If he takes, I take back with the pawn. And this is really my only other square. Also, I couldn't really defend the knight all that easily. But from c1, maybe I can go to d3 to e5. Looks like a good square. Now let's see, what can he do? He's got a lot of force on this square here, but he's leading with the queen. So I think I can just exchange it off. Can he come in here? He can come to this square, which may be annoying. With either the knight or the bishop, and I can trade one. So for example, bishop c3, bishop takes, knight c3. Hitting these light squares, the queen moves. Okay, getting the queen out of the way. He is kind of doubling up on this square here. And I have the idea of playing f4 with the pawn to block that if I want to. But first, let's develop the knight. Get the knight out of that bind it's in. And fortunately for me, he's left off attacking my d-pawn there, so my lone defender. The knight blocks the queen, but the bishop is defending it anyway. So if he plays bishop to d2, I have f4. Looks like it should be good. Queen went back. Okay, so now I can play knight e5. Sort of slowly unwinding. Knight e5 or knight c5. Or maybe I should just push back the bishop. Knight's not under attack right now. So my idea is a3, b4. Because it is a bit annoying to have this e1 square under enemy control from that bishop. Now there's a nice fork here on f4 between the queen and the knight, but this knight is pretty well cemented there, I guess. Okay, let's go ahead and lock in that bishop. He could take that as an interesting kind of sacrifice. Take. I guess might be a piece hanging at the end. But yeah, it's probably not worth the piece. Okay, so now this is still defended. I could play knight to c5, but that sort of gives a purpose to this knight. Right now this knight is basically out of play. If I play knight to e5 or knight to f4. Just knight to e5, how about? And then get some stuff on the e file here. Maybe queen d2. If he doesn't play his queen to a square where it attacks d2. Now this knight on e4 hits the queen and the pawn. So that is a kind of fork. Let's see. So his queen should go to a square that defends. And so that means I can just play rook to c1 and pile up on that pawn. Ah, so that's not necessarily true. He can push the pawn forward. If I take, he can take it with the knight, because if I take back, he can grab this knight. I can grab the bishop. So okay, so let's calculate. Rook c1, c5, b takes c5, bishop takes c5, pawn takes c5, queen takes knight, e5. So he's given up a bishop and gotten a knight, and he's won a couple pawns. Well, he's won a pawn. He gives up one pawn and gets two. So I can't stop c5 that way. It's kind of funny. Well, I could play a temporary move. So rook c1. If he pushes the pawn, I could play, say, knight takes here. Knight takes f7, hitting the queen. He takes back. And then I push my pawn forward. Then I take. Sorry. He pushes, I take on f7. He plays c5, I play knight f7. He plays rook takes f7, I play pawn takes c5, and I'm forking the queen and the bishop there. Yeah, it looks like a good plan, actually. If I poke the knight there, then I can get the same kind of deal. So knight c5, knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, and forking the bishop and queen. And otherwise, if he wants to get rid of that knight, he has to play bishop takes. Or he could just leave the knight there. So his knight is, he's just opening up a line of attack on my pawn, which will be defended after I play knight to there. Yeah, let's go there. It's still a weakness on c6. Yeah, so he takes with the bishop. So I think this should be good for me. He has to move the queen. He could trade. And this knight is still a little bit out of play, and I have two bishops, so it should be good. I can pile up on this pawn here. The bishop's hitting it. I could bring a rook there. I could threaten to take the knight here. Now this just loses a pawn, and it's probably worth taking. So rather than trading off a good rook, it's sometimes an idea to support it, so you maintain your pieces in good position. So now, maybe getting down to the 7th rank. So I have a dark squared bishop. I have to keep in mind where the good squares are for the bishop. So I can queen a pawn on this rook on this side of the board, but not on this side. On that square is not good. This is the good square for the bishop. So, where is the knight going? He has squares to go to, but if I harass the knight, then maybe I can get my rook over to a2 and try and pick up another pawn. So, yeah, there's no way to defend the knight. The knight has to move, and he has only 2 squares to go to here. Ah, 3. 4. I guess he could have gone there, too. So what's his idea with that move? I'm not really sure. Maybe he's getting out of the way. His rook can defend the pawn by coming to this square. But then I can pin the knight. If his king defends the knight, he's attacking the bishop. If I go here, knight takes, pawn takes, then rook here attacks my pawn, defends his pawn, but then I can push again. He can get the rook behind it. And I can take this pawn, he can take my pawn. A big trade. Let's go here. Maybe he'll weaken his structure by playing g5. Yep. And he went back to there, defending his pawn. Very good. Okay, so let's play f4. I want to open things up a little bit for my king, march my king into the center to help stuff go over here. If he takes, I take back with the bishop, and I get back on this square here, which was annoying him before. If he doesn't take, I can push the pawn. That creates a weakness for me. That might not have been the best move. But he has some weaknesses too, so we'll see. Yeah. So he goes after the bishop. Let's defend the bishop. Now he's getting active. So let's put the bishop somewhere. Here, that looks like that might be useful. Threatening some sort of check over here. Well, this kind of keeps his king bottled up. And if this rook ever leaves the back rank, there's a... No, it's not a mate, because he has an escape on f7. But now, let's see, can he even defend this pawn? He can bring... No, he can't bring the knight back to defend it. And he can't bring the rook to defend it. So this pawn is falling now. He can attack my pawn. Maybe that's the best idea for him. Aha, where is he going? He's got a check there, a check there, and am I boxed in? If he checks me, I have to go to this square, but he's blocked the rook. And I could even go to that square, I guess. I guess it's okay. I might just bring my rook over to e6 and block his rook that way.
Check.
Okay, there he is. Now, the rook to this square. King here. This threatens checkmate, actually, if his rook is not in the back rank.
Check.
Rook to f8 is checkmate. So I think his only move is to move the rook back. That does not help.
Checkmate.
Okay, it was Joko Mate's 8th Blitz game, it says. Anyway, good game. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to follow up with a post-mortem, and I'll see you then. Bye.